Hello, I'm back again. So today I thought I would have a look at some of the things that I got for my birthday, which are the Kuretake Gansai Tambi set of 12 extra colours. Now these are the ones that came out a bit later, so they're not the original 12. They are the 12 colours that go into the new 48 set. And I don't have the 48 set. I did consider getting it, but I already have this set of 36. Which I'll just quickly show you. So this is the set of 36 that I have, and I really did think about upgrading to the 48 set, but it just seemed like such a shame because I like this set and that means I'll then have to sell it or give it away, and I just thought, I really can't be bothered having to start all over again, so I thought I'd just grab this extra little box on top, and today I'm going to take a look at them. So we've got some really pretty colours in here, lovely pastels, and I'm intrigued by some of these darker ones. So we'll swatch those out, and also this Boku E-Sumi Japanese watercolours, which are all shades of black. So I'm really excited to get into these. I thought I'd open them on camera. They are still in their box, I haven't touched them yet. I've been dying to, but I just thought I would save it for opening on the video. There we go. Gently, not stab that into the paint itself, that would be very annoying. So let me just quickly peel these. Alright, so they are essentially the same little containers, if I just slowly pull one out, and I probably don't want to get these ones mixed up because they all look very similar to one another, but they are essentially the same. They come in a very flat pan, much bigger than a standard full-size pan that you would get for watercolours. These are Japanese ones. I think they're a bit shallower. So as you can see, they don't fill them right up to the top, and they are quite shallow pans, but even so the paint does last a long time, so I have not had anything run out yet. Now there is a lot of conjecture as to whether or not these are watercolours. I'm calling them watercolours, Japanese watercolours if you like. They tend to be a bit more gouache-like, but some of the colours I find are just as transparent, so they re-wet with water, they're watercolours. If you remember, I also bought some little travel brushes, so I'm going to use the biggest brush today, which is a number 5, to swatch the paints out. So I've got my usual setup here. This is my Etcher sketchbook in a size A4 and 100% cotton watercolour paper, so it's been pretty good for swatching in, and I'll do some pictures. I might do 1 picture or 2 picture, I haven't decided yet today. Let's just get the colours swatched, and at the same time I'm going to fill in this box as well, because then I don't have to do a separate swatch card for them. So let's get going. I'm so excited. I have been waiting a while to do these. The first colour we have here is that Cherry Blossom Pink. Such a beautiful pink, I really love it. I imagine it has quite a lot of white in it. I don't know what the pigment numbers are for any of these colours, just so you know. So we're just going to admire the pretty colours on here. And you can see I was painting in the box as I was going. But as the box order doesn't quite match the order in which I had placed the colours on my sketchbook, they were a bit mixed up, so yeah, they're all over the place at the moment. But I'm just doing alternating colours just so that they don't run into each other. As you can see, the horizon blue and the lime green are also very lovely and pastel. The lime green's quite bright as well and a little bit more fluorescent looking. The rose beige was a nice sort of my skin tone really, and the maroon is such a beautiful colour. I really love that maroon, I never know how to pronounce that but it's a lovely deep red. The blue grey deep is very similar to a Payne's grey, and you could see the box swatching was a bit confusing because they were all in different places, and I was really trying hard to not get them to touch each other because they ran really quickly on the box. The lilac was a very, very delicate colour and much less tinted than the Cherry Blossom Pink next to it. The Cobalt Blue, it started off a little weak, but once I managed to wet it properly, it came in quite deeply. It's a lot more transparent than some of the other colours there. I did notice this time around that they do behave differently to Western watercolours in that the pans were quite sticky, and it took me a while to wet them and get the paint to run a bit more loosely. They were a lot more behaving like I think gouache usually does, although I'm not very experienced with gouache. But you can see that natural beige is very similar to the rose beige, but a bit more yellow undertone, not that redder undertone that the rose beige had. And the Indian red was quite nice, a fairly standard one there, and the grey that we have here was definitely mixed with white, so was a lot more opaque than the blue-grey deep, which acted a lot more like a lighter Payne's grey. Going into the Boku Undo set, I love the reddish black, it's such a pretty colour. In fact, all of them were really gorgeous except maybe the yellowish black, which wasn't so great, but that greenish black there, that's very much like a perylene green, so beautiful for shadows. As is the purplish black, which to me looks quite a lot like Daniel Smith's Shadow Violet, maybe a little bit like Moonglow too, somewhere in between those two. And here's me just finishing up the boxes on there. And then I went in with that yellowish black, which it looks a bit gormless on here if I am perfectly honest, although I ended up quite liking it when I got to painting it. The bluish black again was like a Payne's grey, this one much darker than how the blue-grey deep had dried. And the last one is brownish black, a gorgeous rich brown, really like that one too. So they are such a pretty muted palette together. So I actually drew up a couple of drawings in my sketchbook and I put some tape down for once, which I hardly ever do, but I thought I would make just two smaller paintings rather than one big one. On this one I used all of those Boku Undo colours and a couple of the Kuretake colours together to make a lovely shadowed background, and I also did this with the other painting as well, so both paintings are using both palettes here. I just decided that I wanted to use sort of darker colours in the background and then have lighter colours in the foreground. The first one are of some spring rhododendrons that I photographed just last week, I think, and then there was also a raven sitting in one of the trees, so I thought I'd paint him as well. And yeah, I loved these paints so much. I think they just look incredible together on that background, and using the cotton paper they work really well on that too. So very similar to watercolours, as I've said before, although sometimes they did act more like gouache, especially the pastel colours, which were far more opaque than the Boku Undo colours, which were a lot more transparent. Finally, using that cherry blossom pink, they were pink rhododendrons and they do look a bit like blobs, I'm afraid, in my painting. I was trying to paint loose and I'm not very good at it, but I really enjoyed using the cherry blossom pink, and that darker colour is that gorgeous maroon colour. The two of them worked so well together, and I also did use a little bit of that lilac as well, just to add a few more purple highlights. Really gorgeous colours. I love how they do look so much brighter than the background, and the two palettes together I thought worked really fantastically for these two paintings that I did. I also really enjoyed using the little travel brushes. They were very good and they did hold a surprising amount of water, which was great, except the only issue is that number 5 brush was a bit wobbly when I put it together at the connection, and I had to keep pushing it back together, which was super annoying. But I didn't seem to have this problem at all with any of the other brushes. Only the biggest one, of course. Okay, admittedly I made a bit of a mess of the raven. I was trying to use most of the blacks on his feathers to get a different level of shadowing, and I used a little bit of blue because the way the light was hitting the bird was also providing different colours within the darkness of its feathers. I don't know if it's male or female, I'm just saying male. And yeah, he looked a bit funny at the end. I didn't quite draw him out very well at the beginning, I don't think, but never mind, you get the idea. It's a bird and it's got black feathers with colours. I found I had to go back in and redo layers on it because it did fade into the paper quite a lot. And you can see I'm doing the same thing with the rhododendrons, which kind of look like flowers, but they're a bit blobby as well. I think they came together at the end, but yeah, they were probably not the greatest flowers I've ever painted, but I do love the colours. I just think they look fantastic. I added in some dots for the stamens. I think that helped define each blossom a bit more easily than before, and you can actually see that they are a group of flowers, not just one big pink blob. I used just a tiny bit of pen, I think, for the raven's eyes, but otherwise I did everything just with the watercolours of both sets. And a little bit of white pen as well, just to get some highlights going on the bird because he really needed it. And then I also, a bit further down, do some more layering because I decided that the background needed another layer of those lovely Boku Undo colours just to make it a lot more rich. So here I go in with that. I added a bit of the cobalt blue from the Kuretake set in the background too, and I really liked how that mixed in with the darker Boku Undo colours. And I just kept on layering until I was happy with the background and the contrast between it and the foreground subjects of the flowers and the raven. Alright, I'm calling it before I make a total mess of it. I had a good time with these. Here are the two boxes, which you can see are now quite well used. They worked really well together, I thought. So here are the swatches, just to remind you. I probably could go over them again. This is just one layer. And here are the paintings that I got from them. A bit blobby, a bit loose, but I think you get the idea of how the colours work. The colour palettes are both subtle, even though there are some bright ones in here. They tend towards the more pastel side, so there is a lot of white undertone in them. But they worked nicely together, so you can get that lovely contrast between the dark shadows and areas that have been lit up in the sun. So yeah, these kind of look like rhododendrons. If you use your imagination, you might see that. Not sure what happened to this guy, he's a bit of a mess, but never mind. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you have done, thank you so much. I will see you all again really soon in my next video. Have a wonderful day. Swatch you later. Bye!